Hey guys, and welcome to Hoops Lounge Year in Review. This is a Hoops Lounge Hangout, episode 31. My name is Phil Boileau, joined by my co-star, Mark Griffin.
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. I want to wish LeBron James a happy 40th birthday.
40th birthday. I think he was 40 by the time he was 18. But we have a big show for you today. We have a look back at what was 2013 and all of our favorite NBA moments going back and forth. I know we had a lot of big hoop fans going on here. Mark, I want to throw this to you first. Looking on your list of naughty and nice moments, I know a couple corny Christmas jokes always make. The season merrier, what made your list this year?
Well, do you want to start talking about the amazing new intro music and montage we had there at the beginning? A lot of people put a lot of stuff into that.
Yeah, no, sorry, mine.
Yeah, that was kind of a New Year's late Christmas present, everybody. So there's a really interesting story behind all that. Phil, do you want to start with the music?
So the music was brought to us. I met at a party a couple of years back, and he's a big hoops fan, a Chicago Bulls fan. We'll give him a little shout out. John Rosner, local looping artist, actually the 2012 looping champion of Canada. So big music guy, big hoops fan, and he just wanted to get a part of Hoops Lounge. So he decided to make us a nice intro and outro song. So the amazing beats there, kind of loungy style, we had off John Rosner. So if you're looking for any of his contact info, look on hoopslounge.com, and we'll have all this stuff there. And there's also a bunch of photos there. Mark, you want to let everyone know who were talent behind the lens?
The crazy thing about all those photos there, I put together the montage there, but we had hundreds, literally hundreds of photos to pick from. That's actually from 3 different photo shoots over the last year. And the first one, the stuff you see at the very beginning, the black and white stuff, is really interesting because it was about a year ago, last January, January or February, Phil and I wanted to do a shoot together before we got the website launched, and we were going to do a shoot inside, but the problem was we couldn't find, this is a testament to how popular basketball is in Montreal. We could not find a gym that was open or available. We asked all of our friends, beg, borrowing, steal, and couldn't get a gym open. And it was a weekend, and I was looking at the weather, and it was going to be like kind of freakishly warm. It was going to be about 6 or 7 degrees above freezing, which this time of year in January it's nothing. So we're like, well, why don't we wear our suits, do something really nice, get a photographer, and shoot outdoors? We won't freeze our butts off. So we found a guy named Frederic Villieu who shot with us for an afternoon in Little Italy, Montreal, and we got some really amazing stuff out of that. So that's the first part of the montage. The second part is we got Mona, who, by the way, Moto's over in Switzerland. We couldn't get him on the show today, but he'll be back next week. International Moto of Mystery will be back, and we had him and his brother. His brother's name is Maz Alb, and the two of them were involved when we went to the NBA game this October here at the Bell Center in Montreal between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Boston Celtics. So there's a lot of stuff. From there, you could see Brad Stevens, the coach of Boston Celtics, in one shot, and me in press row, and just a few different things. Actually, Maz is in one of the shots with us as well. So that's kind of the middle section right there. And then the end section is another friend of ours who wants to remain anonymous, did another great photo shoot with the 3 of us in a photo studio, and that stuff's really amazing too. All of it just comes together, and the music really ties it together. And you see there at the end, there's our new graphic logo by Damian Northmore as well. So a lot of fun, a lot of people putting a lot of work into that, and we're all really proud of it. And so it's a nice way to start into the new year.
Exactly, and obviously we're going to tip our hat to yourself, Mark, for putting it all together, a little video master there. So we're going to have a lot more coming to you that way. So a lot of talent in Montreal, a lot of really talented basketball fans coming out of the woodwork. Speaking of, the graphic designers, the photographers, the musicians, everyone. And you know what? This has been a big year. I mean, looking back for when we were kind of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, taking those shots out in the park. And you know what? If people say the global, I don't know, like, I don't want to start a whole rumor thing, but it was way warmer that year than this year. I don't know if we would have survived in just suits doing that photo shoot this year.
Yeah, well, I remember when
There,
we actually had to shovel off that court. We were actually shoveling, and our photographer Fred, he only had little. I think he had like sneakers on, and he was not prepared for that. So he froze, but he was a trooper. Really, he let us shoot. We got lucky because it was supposed to rain that day. I don't know if you remember that. It didn't end up raining, so the
yeah,
weather was actually perfect for us.
yeah, exactly. I think we're still waiting for those checks from the city in the
Yeah,
mail for the
yeah,
manual labor there. But yeah, it's been a really good year. Met a lot of amazing people, and Hoops Lounge is really, turning some good corners. And I want to thank you guys. Obviously, without a lot of request ideas and more from fans, friends, family, and all them, we would have nothing. So we do it for you guys, and we're just huge fans who want to get the conversation going. And speaking of conversation, this whole thing lies around the NBA professional basketball and such. And 2013, like I was saying before,
hmm
was a big year for basketball. A lot of new faces and a lot of Canadian content. Mark, I mean, we'll get to the NBA for now, but what was some of your moments you're looking back at? Because me, there's a bunch that go through my mind. I just want to like pick your brain just to see if it's at all parallel.
Yeah, I mean, like what we're going to do today, basically, we're going to each pick our top 5 moments from basketball. Not necessarily NBA. I mean, NBA is one of the focuses we have here, but absolutely, I mean, we do college basketball. Moto especially loves international basketball. And of course, you always see amazing things in amateur and high school hoops as well, and Euroball too. But I posted on our Facebook page last night asking fans what their top moments were. And we had a few interesting ones, like Cedric, who's been a supporter of us for a long time, mentioned how nice it actually was to meet me. We bumped into each other at a
You're
soccer
famous.
game. Yeah, no, it was really cool to talk to him face to face because the internet is only so much, and actually to meet people face to face is a completely different thing. So it was really nice to run into him. And then as well, our friend Christy, who is a mega Kobe Bryant fan, following him forever. Made a
I
really
think
interesting.
I'm
Sorry.
pretty sure I'll do justice. There's like 12 other megas there.
Yeah, yeah.
because
He,
because other Kobe Bryant fans like feel they can kind of play this game of like how we stack up. But I'm
yeah,
telling you, if Kobe's listening, there's no competition.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no, she made a really interesting point that her moment, and I didn't even think of this one, but it's a really important one. When he went down with the Achilles injury, he stepped up and on one leg made 2 free throws. I'm sure he was in the worst pain of his life, and he switched 2 free throws and then went to the bench crying. I mean
And he was
that.
barely even wincing. Did you see that?
Yeah,
He was kind of
yeah,
just like, what?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that was a really interesting moment, and kind of in a way a defining moment of his career. I mean, so that was a good one to see. But for me, my number 5, and the thing is, this happened about a month or two ago, and I since then I haven't been able to find it online. It's like it's disappeared from the internet, which is, I'm baffled. But there was a play when Kevin Love, the Minnesota Timberwolves, had a ball out of bounds and made an outlet pass the entire length of the court for a layup. And I think it was to Corey Brewer. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. Two-handed chest pass from out of bounds. The NBA court, I think, is 94 feet long, maybe longer. And I think he's probably the only human being on the planet who can do that. And if I find again, I'm going to put it back on our Facebook page because I've watched it 10 times and I couldn't even believe it took place.
Well, I'm still convinced the guy should have played football, been like a
Yeah.
quarterback somewhere.
He wasn't. He
But
I read up about it. It's nice that you mentioned that. I read his parents wouldn't let him play football growing up. And interestingly, Corey Brewer, who's the guy he's always passing to on these outlet passes, he played high school football in Tennessee and was a wide receiver, and they won the state title his freshman and sophomore year. So Kevin Love always wanted to play quarterback, and this is the only chance he has to. And he's just got that amazing fingertip strength. He is always doing those fingertip push-ups, and he learned a lot about the game from his dad and Wes Unseld, who his middle name is named after him. Wes Unseld was the master of the outlets pass in the 70s, so he's a throwback player, and being able to do that just completely changes basketball. So that's my number 5.
yeah, up on the top one. I mean, I had. I have a couple moments and I have a couple just ideas
Yeah.
and changes to the game that happened. So I was trying to mix it up there.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them was, technically it's in 2013, the Spurs losing to the Heat in Game 6.
Mhm.
Game 6 still burns. And I don't see it as much as the Ray Allen. I see it as much as Tim Duncan missing those layups.
Yeah.
And to me, this was an interesting point where, I don't know, I just feel like there was something that, it was the first time, like, I'm not saying there was any validity to it, that the whole idea ever since 2000, 2001 of, crooked play and all this, this became popular again, even just for a little bit. And as an NBA fan, I hate hearing that stuff. Like, I think the better team won at the end of the day. The Spurs didn't complete, but I think there's always going to be something when it comes to major sports and people with the idea of rigging games and things. And you know what? It's just hard work and good play is going to get past that. And I want everyone to put that one to rest and be able to enjoy this year's playoffs, because that was one conversation that was a little bit disheartening to hear. But yeah.
Okay, so I'll get back to that in a bit because it's a bit later on my list. So I'll give my number 4. And so my number 4 is the NCAA men's basketball championship game between Michigan and Louisville, because that is by far one of the best basketball games I've seen in years. Seeing Michigan's little backup point guard, Spike Albrecht, I believe it was his name, who averaged, I think, 1.5 points a game, scoring 17 off the bench. I mean, people literally thought he was the ball boy on the team, and he just went out there and played the game of his life, maybe. And then seeing Nick Stauskas, a Canadian who's from Mississauga, Ontario, started for that team. And as far as I know, he's the first Canadian ever to start in a Final Four game, so championships game. So that was really special. And seeing Rick Pitino win his second title with a title with 2 teams, which has never happened before. And that moment after the celebration, when it sounded like a rocket was going off and Pitino ducked down, you felt like there was gunfire in there. I'll never forget that moment. Just the way the back and forth between those 2 teams, and seeing some guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Trey Burke, some future NBA guys playing. It was just an all-out game, and Louisville just had a little bit more gas in the end. But that was just pure basketball, its purest form, and I love watching that game.
No, that was a good one. No, you're definitely getting some good games in there. One of the ones, because anyone who knows me knows I'm a big fan of the GM side, the player side, the business side. The big loss to me was the downward spiral of the Grizzlies and Nuggets. Like, these are 2 teams that for years have had a lot of talent, and just how their legs got taken out of them. The Nuggets losing GM of the year, coach of the year, Iguodala defecting to the Warriors, all that talk about him and Mark Jackson having those powwows during the playoffs. And then the Grizzlies, them hiring John Hollinger from ESPN, is supposed to be the stats guru, right away trading Rudy Gay, which I guess is becoming a fad these days.
It's a trend, yeah.
It's a little bit of a trend, so you can't blame them. But, then them just, they seemed like they were that up-and-coming team, and now they're just this team of 29-year-olds who can play the post and not a whole lot. I'm not really afraid of the Grizzlies this year, or the Nuggets. They're the complete opposites. The Grizzlies are that big, pounded inside, not much else team, and the Nuggets are just this really fast, team. Mm-hmm. And if you do anything else, they can't play. I just thought it would, and both those teams were 50-something win teams. I felt bad for Lionel Hollins. I still feel really bad for George Karl. I just feel that there's a lot of bad blood both those ways, and I liked both those teams before this.
Yeah, I mean, I got to mention an injury on both teams. First of all, the Grizzlies have played most of the season without Marc Gasol, who's just coming back now. And as well, Denver did most of their damage before the playoffs, before Garnelli went down, and he's still not even back yet. So those two have really, and of course Iggy defecting, as you mentioned. So they're not the same teams as they were last year, and who knows? I don't think either one's the way they're playing now. They're not going to make the playoffs.
No, especially in that brutal West. But you never know. But okay. What was your next one of your riveting 2013?
My number 3 moment was Roy Hibbert's block on Carmelo Anthony. It was in Game 6. Yes, Game 6. I think it was the semifinals. It was about 5 minutes left in the game, and the Knicks had a 92-90 lead. And probably the best defensive player on the planet blocked, maybe the best or second best offensive player on the planet at the rim. Does not get any better than that.
Oh, that was good. I like that one. Actually, that segment's well. My next one was, this is the year, they've been talking for years how there's no real big men in the league. I thought 2013 was the year, the return of big men.
Yeah.
We were talking about Andre Drummond, Dwight Howard still in the conversation, Roy Hibbert, Anthony Davis coming back. There's more talented big men. Even Greg Monroe on the same Detroit Pistons team. You can just go on and on and on. I don't think there's a lack of talent at the big man position anymore, the 4 or 5. I think we're seeing this kind of rebirth. Everyone's talking about it as a point guard league, and yes, we're very heavy in the point guards, but I'm actually really happy to see the rebirth of the big man in the NBA. And I think it's something, all these big men are really young. Valanciunas, we'll give him a shout out. There's just a lot of talent. So I think Roy Hibbert's kind of leading the charge, but I think there's a huge relevancy to centers and big power forwards in the NBA again.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful to see. I think with most things in life, there's a kind of ebb and flow up and down, and it's been a long time coming, and it's good to see it again, because you got to remember back in the day, with Olajuwon Ewings, Dikembe's, Alonzo, all these guys, there was an era of dominant big men, and I think it's just a matter of it coming back. And like you said, a lot of them are coming from Europe, which is interesting, and it's changing the game, but I think in a good way.
Yeah, no, for sure, and the European. I mean, I think almost half the teams have a talented big man at this league. Like I'm just looking at a list of players like Vujicic. We haven't even mentioned Joakim Noah of the Bulls, right? There's just, I don't know. I'm excited. Like I haven't been this excited for the crop of big men since, as you mentioned, that whole kind of Patrick Ewing, David Robinson. Tim Duncan was kind of a young pup in that area.
Yeah.
Still Olajuwon, Shaq. There was just that Alonzo Mourning. There was that period where you just had that presence, right? And I feel that there's, when you have real big men in the league, it doesn't allow these athletes to go fancy free from the free throw line diving in. And I think that toughness will add back to the rivalries, because I think that's one thing that the NBA could use more, is real rivalries.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Miami, Indiana is really growing into the best rivalry in the league right now, and it's beautiful to see them not shaking hands before the games begin. I like to see that old school kind of bad boy Pistons feel between these guys, because it's old school ball, and that's how I grew up, and so centers and old school rivalries, it's good for the league. So I got my number 2, and a couple of people mentioned this on Facebook, and I have to say it has to be, for me, Ray Allen's shot in Game 6. I read this really great article in Sports Illustrated. It just came out this week, actually, and it looks at the Game 6 shot from 10 different perspectives, and most interestingly from Greg Popovich's perspective. And it still haunts him to this day, obviously. But the most fascinating thing about the article, and it's well worth reading, I put it on our Facebook page, is it says that when Ray Allen, early on in his career, when he played in Milwaukee, he created a drill out of nowhere, out of his own head, where basically he lied down on the free throw line, got up and sprinted to the corner, grabbed the ball and shot. And he said he's done this over 100,000 times in his career, because he's all in the preparation. He's always at the arena 3 hours before game time. He practices this every day. Never knew when it would come in handy, and it came in handy the most important shot of his life. And he said basically he had to, from doing that, he kind of knows where his feet are, because he doesn't look down. He knows where his feet are, and he's the only player on the planet who could do that. And so it won the game, and like you said, Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Popovich, all these guys, they've lost a lot of sleep because of that. So that speaks to preparation and being in the right place at the right time. So read that article; it's really great. But yeah, and one thing about really interesting, Ray Allen said that everywhere he goes, people don't ask him about the shot; they tell them where they were when they saw the shot. So that just shows its importance to people.
Now that's a big shot when people are talking about the moment.
Yeah.
Instead of what did you do? How did you do it? It's just, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a huge shot, and that's definitely the other side of the ball. There was just so much emotion in that series, the Spurs Heat. It was just that was real playoff basketball. Game 7, it was every fan's dream. And you know what? For everyone who cried because the Spurs lost, really, if it's getting that emotion out of you, that's real basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it was really good. My second to top was the year of the injury.
Yeah.
We're talking about Kobe Bryant being hurt, and it's kind of bombshelled from there. Now he has his other leg injury. He could come back. We'll see if it works perfectly. But him, Westbrook, Rose, Bynum, just brutal injuries to really, really important players. And it's really gone to show, health, resting players. People can laugh at Popovich for playing his players 30 minutes a game, sitting them on Monday night games on TNT. But you know what? His players are there when it counts, and they don't wear them down. And this shows a lot of the strengths in benches. When Westbrook went down, we got to see Reggie Jackson. We're getting to see Lamb now, and a lot of players on that side. When Rose went down, we got to see some Nate Robinson heroics. So it's all about stepping up and showing that extra bit of gut. But yeah, this was definitely the year of the injury. I can't even remember another year where injuries were so hard hitting in the playoffs, starting the season, just breaking hearts. Just like all these comebacks, which just
Yeah, for
not
me,
really.
for me, I think this is a growing trend actually the last 2 or 3 years, but definitely this year worse by far. But for me, I mean, the theory I've had, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, I think it's because we're in an era where guys are playing basketball year round. Now, Leo Routins was talking about it on the Raptors broadcast, but I mean, the guys are playing AAU ball in the summer in high school, and then they're playing, whatever tournaments, etc., through college, etc., and then they're playing for whatever Team USA, Team Spain, their national teams, and they're training, they're going to training camp. So these guys are playing 11 or 12 months a year now. What used to not be so. And I'm looking at guys who are going against the grain. I mean, Steve Nash, I know he's injured right now, but he stopped playing summer ball when he was about 29 or 30. And for those years, he had his NBA MVP years after that point. And I also look at Manu Ginobili right now. He stopped playing for Argentina about, I think, 2 seasons ago in the summer, and he's having one of the best career years he's had in years because he's refreshed. He's not playing the summer ball. So, I mean, it's just a theory, but there's just so much basketball year-round right now. I think it's having a lot of wear and tear on these guys.
Well, do you think possibly there's going to be kind of this weird middle ground where NBA contracts are going to start stipulating if you can have, Olympic or world participation? Because how would they know it affects you now?
Yeah.
Do the Dallas Mavericks go to Dirk and be like, yeah, I know you want to play for Germany, but, hey,
Yeah.
it's a PR nightmare, right? Because you can't tell your guy, hey, you can't represent AO country.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's a business decision. You're paying this guy how many millions of dollars, and I mean, outside of bowling incidences, you can't, you try to minimize all the times where you get hurt. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is going to become a factor, and I think we're going to hear a few conversations about this. And I think with that, I honestly think in the future, the NBA and the Olympics are going to have something where you can't play in the Olympics basketball past 25. Like you play as much as you want until you're 25, and then no.
That's my guess, an age cutoff, and we'll see. We'll see. I think there'll have to be some kind of middle ground.
Yeah. So what was your big guy for the year?
Oh, my number one basketball moment of the year. I mean, it's a bit of a personal one. I think it took place in March. Do you know this one?
March. I can't put it on. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Okay. I don't know the exact day, but it was around March of this year. We launched hoopslounge.com. And it's had a really great effect in our lives, in a lot of lives, and it's been a really great year for us. So, yeah, that's my number one basketball moment.
Oh man, I can't even remember my own anniversary. This is why I'm single. This is it hurts. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a changing moment, putting passion to paper and video and all these other things. Yeah, it's just been a huge moment. Like a lot of work, but a lot of great people we've met.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of great connections. It's just been really fun.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that is that, and I'm kind of liking it. Being a draft guy, obviously, Hoops Lounge is going to be my number one. But if we're talking NBA, actually, my number one has to be tanking became popular again.
Oh God.
I know, but I'm a big draft guy, and I've been really excited this year. I'm super excited for this upcoming draft. I know all you fans should be too. You have a lot of talent coming up. So, I mean, being basketball fans, you got to look back and you got to look forward. So I thought this was a nice kind of, in the middle. And look, if you're a Knicks fan, like certain of us on Hoops Lounge, you're in the mix because you're terrible. So, Moda could be screaming with joy next year with Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker making the list. So, yeah, a lot to look for. Looking back, there was a lot of good stuff, and looking forward to a lot of good stuff. And us at Hoops Lounge, we're going to try to bring you all of it. We always bring you videos, articles, and such, and more. Mark, do you want to let them know what they can look forward to maybe this year going forward on hoopslounge.com?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned Andrew Wiggins, so I wanted to have a quick Naismith moment. So basically, every week I have a little segment called Naismith Moment, and you can always send us stuff by hashtag Naismith Moment or Facebook us. Send me a message on Twitter, what have you. And this week I wanted to look at the Innes brothers, who are two Canadian guys from Toronto. There's Tyler and Dylan Innes. One plays for Syracuse and the other plays for Villanova, and they faced head-to-head, guarding each other on Saturday. It was a really amazing game, and actually both teams were undefeated at the time. And Tyler is maybe the best point guard in college basketball right now. Bill Raftery, who's been covering college games for decades, said he's one of the best ever to come out of Canada, and he had 20 points, 4 and 4, I think, and Dylan actually had a really good game himself. And interestingly, one stat about Jim Boeheim, who's been coaching at Syracuse for, I think, 35 years or so, said he's the best freshman point guard he's ever had, and he's coached guys like Sherman Douglas, Pearl Washington, who played in the pros, so that's a lot coming from Jim Boeheim. But he had like 20 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, and statistically he's never had more than 2 turnovers in a game as a starting point guard in college basketball, which as a freshman is phenomenal. Just seeing these two guys go head-to-head. Dylan got recruited by Villanova because they heard about the younger brother and then recruited the older brother. These guys got to go home to Toronto for the Christmas holidays, and I think they shared a bunk bed. They're really close, but on the court they don't really speak. But it was really nice to see these guys go head-to-head, and I see Tyler being in the pros very soon. He's very much a Jason Kidd type player. He's very heady, very poised, plays within himself, sets a tone for the team. Reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd, and I think he'll be a starting point guard in the NBA 3-4 years.
Wow, Jason Kidd, that's quite the compliment. But yeah, more and more Canadian talent coming into the league. I mean, like looking back, Anthony Bennett, Tristan Thompson, and we're looking for Andrew Wiggins. I mean, I'm always enjoying these Naismith moments, actually. I'm actually getting my Canadian knowledge on. Mark brings the book to us every week and learning a lot. Going forward, speaking of getting you guys caught up in the NBA, I'm going to be starting a Wednesday video and written little blog. I'm going to be called Off the Wire, where what we're going to be doing is getting the 5 top headlines of the week before, doing a little summary, and I'll attach a video where I'm actually going to be bringing you through those articles and giving you kind of a little, update, how it affects the teams, the leagues, and just keep you guys informed and up to date. So hoopslounge.com, because of that, becomes your one-stop shop for basketball, NBA, and all the rest info. Mark, what else do you think people should be looking out for this year and in 2014?
Well, I got a little present for you, Phil. I'm just loading this up here on our Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/hoopslounge, and I just loaded this up right now. I think Phil has an NBA doppelganger, which is the German word for a twin brother. So Phil hasn't seen this yet. He's talked about Sean Bradley in the past, but no, this is a much more accurate depiction.
Is this Miles Plumlee?
Yes.
What? He has my beard. How did he do this? I have to start parting my hair like Miles. I've been thinking of what jersey to get forever. Miles Plumlee. It definitely wasn't first or second choice, but I think Miles Plumlee might be making the list. That's
shot blocking
weird,
machine.
man. That's really weird.
It's an uncanny resemblance.
Wow, Miles Plumlee. Could be worse. At least he's a good player for
Yeah.
the upstart Phoenix Suns. I really thought you were going to pull Sean Bradley this whole
No,
time. The tall, lanky guy. Somehow won that. All right, Mark, you got me good. See, this is what we do at hoopslounge.com. We try to keep the fun and in it all the time, and this is I can't actually look away. This is kind of weird. Like this is like this perfect montage. You guys really have to check this out, anyways. But
yeah, coming up this week.
yeah, coming up this week. So as always, you guys can hit us up anywhere in the social verse: Facebook /Hoops Lounge, Twitter Hoops Lounge. And check out hoopslounge.com, the contributors, because we're going to be adding John Rosner, our musician we're talking about, and some photographers and such. So to check out their works and to get in touch with them, because they're local Montreal artists. So we'd love to show their great talents. And John actually teaches guitar, if you guys even want to learn that. And he does side stuff. So we're going to be looking for a lot of that. And feel free to very much, we do appreciate it. Send us emails. At Phil at Hoops Lounge, Mark at Hoops Lounge, Moda at Hoops Lounge, or send us, you can tweet us any ideas for shows, battles between us. If there's questions or stuff for our episodes of In the Post with Moda and I, that you want us to see us battle it out on, just send us your ideas because we want to get this the most interactive as possible. So yeah, a lot of. Is there anything else that I'm forgetting, Mark? Here?
Yeah, just quickly, the last in a 5-part series by Mike Grumberg, called "Learning the NBA" just went up this morning, and it's about players learning from their past experiences. Talks about Andrea Bargnani a bit and Josh Smith, and so that's a really interesting read. You can find on our site. And I have an interview and sort of career perspective so far on Jonas Valanciunas going up this week as well. So, I mean, those Raptors, they're fun to watch, so talk a bit about that too. And plenty in store. Like we said, Moda will be back next week from Switzerland, baby. So we've got really... he's a globetrotter, and so and everybody else will be contributing as well. And me personally, I just wanted to wish you guys all Happy New Year. Hope you had a great holiday, and yeah, LeBron's birthday. He'll be back from the groin injury soon enough, and so we'll have plenty to talk about next week.
Exactly. Well, like Mark said, Happy New Year, guys. Hope the holidays have treated you well, and we'll make sure to bring lots more for you guys from Hoops Lounge. And as always, keep it in the lounge.
See ya.